for my topic this week, which is about the inner resource. And if you've been practicing meditation with me for a while, I might have shared it with you already. You might be familiar. But if you're new, I'll give you a little intro to it. It is supposed to be a felt sense. So even though I'm going to be talking about it and it might appear to be somewhat conceptual, because we're, using language and words to express an idea, you'll hear me keep referring to this as a felt sense. And that felt sense means, you can feel it in your body. It resonates as a tactile feeling. And I'll ask you for some of your own feeling words in just a little while. But the inner resource, a sense of well-being, is a felt sense. And that felt sense is going to have a groundedness to it, a safety, a security. And for each of us, that's going to be a different feeling. So the feeling I get in my body when I talk about inner resource and experience my inner resource will be completely different than how you are going to feel it, how you experience it, how easy it is for you to access it, and what that looks like, different ways we can access it. So for some, I can say to you very simply, eyes open or closed, just take a minute, notice your body, and can you feel an underlying sense of well-being or ease or calm? And some of you might be like, yeah, it's starting to kind of come online. For others, it might not be. Maybe it never has. Maybe this is a completely new concept. So if that sense of well-being is already coming online for you, linger there. Enjoy that as I continue on with the topic discussion. If this is a brand new concept for you, let me give you some resources around how to develop this, because it is a tool and I think a real ally that you're going to carry with you for the entirety of your life. So the good news is the inner resource, we can start very simply by using an experience we've had in the past where we felt a sense of well-being. And I think it's important for you to notice for yourself when I say well-being, what that means for you. You might have your own words. Common expressions of well-being are things like peace or happiness, a feeling of joy, a feeling of rest, stillness, at ease. I like okay or OK-ness. I use that word quite a bit because, for some people that maybe have had some challenging times or are having challenging times, really understanding and feeling well-being can seem kind of just out of reach or hard to access, especially if there's been any sort of trauma in the past. So these memories, these times in our lives can be hard to access if we've had some of those experiences, or if we're having that experience in the moment, like feeling a bit overwhelmed, or like we're not quite sure what to do. We're losing that sense of ground and want to feel grounded. It can be hard to immediately feel into well-being, especially if it's hard to access initially. And that's normal. And I'll talk about the neuroscience of that next week. I keep talking about the neuroscience and it's going to come next week. I wanted to lay this foundation first. So for those that can't draw upon memories for whatever reason, whether it's in the moment and it's just too hard to take a minute and think about a time in your life and really feel that, we have the flexibility to use imagery, and imagery can be really, really powerful. We can use other sensory modalities too. I work a lot with aromatherapy, so I actually use essential oils as an inner resource, a way to kind of immediately get me into my body and to kind of settle me so I can access that feeling of well-being, even if there's a little bit of motion in the ocean, so to say, in the moment. But imagery is really key. So something so simple I would say is, is there a color, a shape, maybe a face of a loved one, a wisdom figure, if there's a particular religion or, something that you have a devotional practice to, that might be there. So some kind of imagery is really powerful. It's a tool for the mind, so it can focus the mind. But what else is going to happen is as you focus on that image that brings a feeling of comfort and support, your body is going to have a cascade of a relaxation response, because all of a sudden it's encountering something that it identifies as safe, which is really important if you're in a challenging moment and say you can't think about that time in your life. You might see an image, you might have a totem, something you actually hold or wear. A lot of what we wear and have on our bodies can have a lot of meaning and anchor points too. So if you're not really a visualizer, I use essential oils, as I mentioned, but you might wear particular stones or malas or bracelets, or maybe it's a ring from a loved one. So something that's going to kind of anchor you into that sense of, oh, there's something here to support. And that's pointing to this inner resource. And hopefully with using an image or a memory, if you can access those memories, you'll start to feel in the body what that's like. So we can use the image and the memories initially, but what's most important is the felt sense. That's what we want to hone in and really attune to and spend time feeling in our meditation. My questions I would like to pose to you around this topic of inner resource, the sense of well-being, ground, security that is like unshakable, or just a feeling of okay-ness. I want to ask you, when you feel the most okay, or the most sense of well-being, whatever that word is for you, what comes forward? Is there an image or a memory that immediately kind of floods to the foreground? So take some time, use a memory if it's helpful, or use your imagination. As I was saying, use an image, use a color. It could be so simple as imagining you walking up and gently touching the horse, which was my initial inner resource because memories were challenging. And that began to open up this cascade of feeling supported, loved, held, and safe. So keep nourishing this. We're going to take the inner resource, as I was mentioning, is this felt sense of well-being. This deeper thing that we're accessing and connecting to when we really feel into that well-being and inner resource, whether we're using memories or images or symbols or essential oils or anything else sensory that starts that comfort, that makes us feel a bit more grounded and at ease. It's pointing to this deeper underlying sense of us that is already unconditional. So it's not like we're bringing on something or inviting something that's not already there. What we're doing is we're shining a little light on it and we're taking time to bathe in it. How often do you take time just to think about these things and to invite the feelings into the body that resonate a sense of well-being and nourishment? It's a practice that we encourage you to do little and often, meaning, once a week is great, but could you feel into the sense of well-being in each of your days? Maybe in daily activities like eating or doing the dishes. And that can be something so simple as taking a moment, feeling your body, noticing all that you're aware of in your senses, what you're tasting, touching, feeling, smelling, noticing if there's a sense of nourishment there and how that feels. You can be outside walking in nature and simultaneously imagine that loved one in memory walking alongside you. And I can promise there's going to be a euphoric resonance in the body and the mind. And that'll feel different for everybody. There might be a lightness in the heart. There might be a heaviness in the hands. There might be warmth. There might be coolness. So what we're really pointing to when we're working with our inner resource is kind of already shining a light on something that's already deep and innate, that's present within all of us, that has never left. It just kind of gets covered up like the vast sky and our weather patterns. So we're paying attention to the sky when we're visiting in our inner resource and meditation.